When I hit rock bottom of my eating disorder, the amount of calories I was eating in a week is how much people are recommended to eat in a day. I convinced myself for a long time that I wasn't sick enough to reach out for help, but had I not gotten help, I probably would have died. Hi, I'm Khushi, and today I want to talk about what we don't talk about. By sharing my battle with eating disorders and the underlying mental illness and mental health issues that accompany them, I hope that something in my story resonates with you or makes you feel that you're not alone if you're struggling with something similar. I deliberately and very intentionally want to speak about it in a matter-of-fact way because in order to normalize and weave these topics into everyday conversation, I believe I need to do my part in verbalizing my struggle unapologetically without guilt or embarrassment or make it seem like it's a plea for sympathy. So, I went from being a national level swimmer who had enough energy to sustain 6 hours of rigorous training every day to not having enough energy to get up from my bed. I started swimming competitively at the age of 11, and 6 out of 7 days a week, you would find me either in the pool, the gym, or the dining table. I was eating about 4,000 calories a day to sustain the amount of workout I was required to do. As a swimmer, I used to lift weights, I had a lot of muscle, but in those years I never thought about my body or my shoulders being broad or my legs being big, because at the time it meant more to me that I looked like an athlete should, so I could be a high performer in my sport. But when I stopped swimming, that's when I had my first experience with weight gain. The gain in weight meant a loss in confidence and self-esteem. I was constantly criticizing myself, spiraling into cyclical thoughts about how unsatisfied I was with the way my body looked. Society didn't make it any easier. Anytime someone made a remark of like how my weight and body had changed, it would hack at my confidence. I remember one of my neighbors, those aunties, she came up to me and said, "Aap to kafi mote lag rahe ho." Or just being a recipient to the comments that were directed at me from like family members, even if it was done in a humorous way, like, "Oh Khushi, khati piti ghar ki lag rahi hai." People didn't realize that it was affecting me a lot because I thought my change in weight made me lesser in the eyes of other people. And so whenever I would walk by people who knew me prior to my weight gain, I would unintentionally and automatically avoid making eye contact with them because I was just that low on confidence. As a result of my plummeting self-esteem, I developed multiple eating disorders. It began when I started to watch what I ate, like skimming calories here and there. It felt like I didn't earn the food because I wasn't working out anymore. I did no research and had no knowledge about how harmful it is to severely restrict your calories. And I resorted to not eating at all because I wanted to get rid of what I saw in the mirror, and every day was another day of convincing myself that I would rather get hangry out of starvation than angry after looking at my reflection. On the days when I had no option but to eat, I went through sleepless nights because of the guilt. I would make myself throw up on the regular and other times suppress my hunger by generous amounts of water or coffee. I was definitely exploiting water, and I would, drink more than the recommended amount only because I knew that I'll not feel hungry. Initially, no one knew, not even my parents. No one had a clue that I wasn't eating because I had figured out ways of fooling everyone that I was eating so that they wouldn't, pester me to eat. I would usually take my food to my room on some or the other pretext, lock the door, chew and spit it out. Dinner was the only proper meal that I would eat because that was when the whole family ate together, so I had no choice but to eat in front of people. Within a few weeks, I lost all the weight, and another few weeks later, people could tell that I had considerably changed in size and shape and everything. And then when people would tell me that I looked unhealthily skinny in a concerning way, I took it as a compliment. And that encouraged me to continue wanting to lose more weight, which I believe is such a disordered way of thinking. And so I almost always had no energy. I felt cold on the warmest days. I lost my period for about 7 months, and I used to get vertigo every time I stood up. My body was sending me signals and begging me to start eating. And these signals were warning signals that I was going down a slope that was extremely damaging to my health. But I would invalidate my struggle every day, saying things like, "I'm not that underweight yet," or "My hair isn't falling out in clumps," or I still don't look like the models that I see on Instagram. So I always knew that I needed help, but it wasn't until one final moment that I actually wanted it. I was alone at home this one day and the bell rang and I stood up to open the door, but that's all I remember. A few minutes later, I regained consciousness only to realize that I had fainted and fallen. That wake-up call made me realize that my deteriorating health wasn't a joke. I had been under-eating for several months and my body wasn't going to be able to cope with it. A realization sunk in that if I continued a lifestyle like that, I could and probably would have died. I decided to get help. Over the months of attending therapy for my mental health, I still have good days and bad days, but I believe that I have made a lot of progress on my journey of recovery. So if you or anyone you know is struggling with their mental health and have ever thought of getting help but somehow were deterred because they didn't know where to go or were discouraged to see a therapist because it costs a lot of money, Defeating Disorders is here to help you. We have a team of psychologists, psychiatrists, psychotherapists and nutritionists who are ready to help you kickstart your healing journey. Help is available, accessible and affordable. My message to anyone who's watching, whether you're a boy or a girl, man or a woman, dealing with a similar struggle, is that I know that it is challenging, but gradually moving towards honoring what your body is saying to you is so worth it. Your body wants to heal, it wants to jump and dance and laugh, and you have an obligation to listen to it. I'm not encouraging you to eat pizzas or burgers or chocolates for every meal, but as I sit here with one of my favorite foods, honoring my cravings once in a while and embracing intuitive eating, I believe that I've made a lot of progress, because months ago I would not have been able to, even think about eating a burger because that gave me so much stress. But Gigi Hadid once said, and I quote, "Eat clean to stay fit, but have a burger to stay sane." It's so good.